But I don't want to just present a problem without having some solutions. On the left-hand side, you have what I think are toxic practices that we must challenge. When students get zeros for missing work, it is the academic death penalty. And I am more than willing, as a holder of an American passport, to stipulate that Canadian students are just plain better behaved than students from the lower 48. But can I just ask you, even among your best behaved students, have you ever seen one pick up a zero and say, "A zero, I have now seen the light. I shall go forth and sin no more." A zero, I now. Why didn't it occur to me before? I realized the value of time management. Or, with that zero, is their motivation blown? Friends, your worst behavior and discipline problems in November and December are students who had accumulated so many zeros that their semester was over, and they were the ones in your office creating problems. If we want to make this better, we have to have a better solution for missing work that I will introduce in a moment. We have to get rid of the average. I've read the mathematics curriculum of this province. Keep me honest, who teaches fifth grade in this room? Fifth grade, ma'am, your students learn the mean, the median, and the mode, correct? Because fifth graders in Ontario know that politicians can lie to you with an average. They can misuse statistics. Fifth graders know that the average is not always the best representation of a data set. And yet we let people with advanced degrees use the average all the time as a sole representation of student achievement. Stop using the average. Thirdly, the semester killer, the giant project, the main lab, the big term paper, that 4 weeks, 5 weeks of intensive work destroy an entire semester. Now, I've got some better alternatives here. I've quoted a good deal of research this morning. One educational researcher you may not be familiar with is an unfortunate import from the US called Larry the Cable Guy. Now, I know no one here has watched Larry the Cable Guy on purpose, but you might have accidentally been in front of a television that was accidentally turned to that channel when you saw Larry the Cable Guy give a very thoughtful response to a student who has missing work. He would say, "Get her done. Get her done," which may not sound very elegant, but you want to know what Larry the Cable Guy does? This is, in real schools, what happens. In Lake Taylor High School, a high-poverty urban system, you miss one assignment, you have same-day after-school suspension, not to say, "I will do my homework," but to do the homework. In Hale High School, they give you until Thursday of every week. You get the work done. In more and more elementary and middle schools, there are times before and, yes, during and after school, kids get the work done. The appropriate penalty, don't think for one moment I'm easy. I'm not easy on kids. They should get work done. But the appropriate penalty for missing work is getting the work done. And that's what we can do, and that will have a much better impact on students. Secondly, rather than the average, we use the best representation of people's work. I asked our colleague who coached basketball earlier today about her coaching techniques from the sideline. Has anyone in this room coached track, perhaps? Ma'am, you've coached track. When you coach track, do you decide who to send to the championships at the end of the semester based upon their average time? You do not. She decides who's running best at the end of the season. Let me use an example that hits closer to home. Let your worst nightmare come true, and you're all now graduate students in Professor Reeves' research and statistics class. And you want to know what September looks like? I hate him and the horse he rode in on. Look, it's been 30 years since I had a math class. I'm teaching social studies. I'm teaching third grade. I'm an administrator. Why should I have to do statistics and research? And October's not much better. And round about the end of November, you mean he's not trying to make me into a propeller head like he is? He's just trying to help me apply research. Now I get it. And you're in my office in December explaining why I should not use the average between now I get it and I hate him. Why I should not use the average for your final grade, and you're right. But if you believe that that's right for you, then for goodness sake, don't do it to students as well. The average doesn't make sense. It assumes linearity, and I've never worked with a linear student in my life. And finally, resilience. You know what? Kids are going to miss assignments. They're going to blow a test. They're going to mess up a project. What lesson do we want to teach them when they meet failure? The lesson I want my children to learn and your children to learn is one of resilience. So the consequence is not merely a low grade. The essence of assessment for learning is that there are serious consequences for messing up. The most serious consequence is not a 0, it's not an F, it's called getting it done. Now I want to tell you, I have actually done this with some students in Western Canada, and I've done this with students elsewhere, and I had focus groups with them, and let me warn you in advance, they hate this. Don't think you'll be being easy on them. They hate it. They, in their parlance, you know what they say, this precisely. And they just hate it. Why? I heard these words, give me the zero, the operative word being give. Because they're used to simply getting by, and maybe a little smiley face will get them a D or something. No. You want to do something really scary, get the work done. And I'm quoting this one young man now because his words were so persuasive to me. It is such a hassle in this school, man. You try to turn this stuff in, she gives it back to you. You miss it, she makes you do it again. You can't even get a D. It's such a hassle in this school, man, to get a C. You might as well get a B. Whereupon we have the wonderful spectacle of whining adolescents bellyaching all the way to the honor roll. That is it, my friends. And let me just remind you, they're not going to thank us. When do students thank us? Years later? This path we are on of assessment for learning is difficult, challenging, unpopular work, but it's the right thing to do.